everybody with Meta or other companies giving people $100 million offer, as we recently saw, it's going to become super common.
And happy people, happy workers are efficient workers, right?
Welcome to CXO Spotlight powered by Flywheeler. I'm your host, Chirag Khanijau, and banking is our topic for today. Banking has evolved from typing to clicking or touching on your screen with gestures and everything. But what comes next? Today, we are exploring how the future of finance is conversational, where customers will interact with their bank as naturally as they would with a friend. I'm joined by Shuchi Agrawal. She's part of the Chief Data Office. She heads the global provisioning of data and metrics and tooling at the Citibank, who's building the AI powered brain that will make this future possible. Named one of the 40 most influential data leaders in the US finance for 2025, Shuchi is reimagining every decision and process with AI as the core partner from day one. Welcome, Shuchi. Welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Thank you very much, Chirag, for this wonderful introduction. It is amazing to be here, and this is a very exciting time, both as I am doing so many things at Citi and also with my role. I believe I'm a technologist at heart and a builder by mindset. My career spans over 25 years across aviation, healthcare, fintech, and global banking. It's always been at the intersection of data, innovation, and trying to make the biggest impact I can. And what drew me to Citi initially was the scale and the opportunity. And Citi has always been at the forefront of innovation, and we haven't just experimented with AI, we're using it to reimagine how one of the world's biggest and largest financial institution can really make a dent and introduce lots of operational efficiency and do it very responsibly.
Super. I'm very curious about this thing that you mentioned, especially in terms of banking overall, right? Banking is moving from typing or going to the branches to sort of clicks and touch on a screen. And now people are talking about voice and the natural language, right? So paint the picture for us, the whole viewers and listeners. What does that customer experience actually look like in next 5 years?
Sure. And that's a great question. And you're absolutely right. We're moving from the click and type, where you use chatbots to answer a few questions, to more human like interactions. So, if I can paint a scenario for you, generally, when a customer calls a bank, it could be for a credit card transaction, it could be for a mortgage. And global organizations, if you think about JP Morgan, Bank of America, Citibank, a customer doesn't just have one interaction. They could have multiple products that they use for the bank. They could have a checking savings account, they could have a CD, they could have credit cards, they could have a mortgage, they could be buying some other investment product. So customer interactions can be very, very complex. And generally, when somebody calls a customer service agent, it's not for something pleasant or to do chit chat. It's that they're struggling with a problem. Typical customer service interactions could take 7-8 minutes. Now imagine using AI, Gen AI, all the technologies that we're envisioning. If we have a smart agent having a few agentic flows that listens to the customer call over multiple modes. So chat, text, voice, any inputs, their history, anything that we have on KYC, and synthesizes all of that information and helps a customer service agent as they're conversing with a person. That whole interaction can be so much more fruitful. Instead of a customer service agent placing somebody on hold for a few minutes to do research and find out the answers, if behind the scenes you have an agent orchestrating and augmenting that customer service agent and helping them answer questions and breaking up that 7-8 minute call into 2-3 minutes, think about how much efficiency we can gain. We think about the satisfaction that the customer will achieve by having their queries answered so much more efficiently. And also from a customer service agent perspective, instead of spending 7-8 minutes, they can finish the call in 2-3 minutes. And by the way, this agent or the agentic flow can also transcribe the message, which also saves them a few more minutes. So all of this, if we can think through thousands of customer service agents and thinking about the efficiency that can be gained, both from providing a better experience for the customer, providing them more examples, and also providing cross-selling, upselling opportunities. So you can have massive improvements, not from customer service satisfaction, but from an employee engagement perspective. And then cross-selling, upselling, you have the potential to generate additional revenue. So all of these scenarios, if we can build, instead of just looking at automation in an isolation, if we can think about how the whole banking experience can change and how we can introduce all of these orchestrations, real time pipelines, natural language understanding, behavior models, and also build in governance where every call is being tracked, sentiment analysis is being done in real time. All of this can just become magic. So we have seamless, secure, and deeply personal interactions. That's what that's what we're envisioning the future of banking to be.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's exciting to me because it got boring to in middle a little bit because it moved from a human agent where sometimes they would not get what you're trying to say because there's so much data and context to a conversation you want to have, but they don't have that data. And then sometimes there was a chatbot in between that doesn't get you at all. So there was this painful moment. I guess this inflection point is coming to a point where a human would have all the context needed for a conversation. That's what you're saying, right?
Absolutely.
And that would lead to such a nice conversation. So super. What if, since you're hands-on and deep into the weeds of implementing these things as well, I want to ask you some question that a lot of chief data officers ask to me in different interviews that I've had, right? Everyone is talking about AI transformation, but when you're actually doing it at scale, you kind of push the limit of the AI because you don't have to just deliver it for an experiment. You have to now deliver it to the scale of, let's say, Citibank or Bank of America. It gets real. So how do you go beyond a typical chatbot story to implementing like a contextual AI at this level? How do you do that?
I have to be honest and say it's not straightforward. And in very large organizations like ours, there is a lot of tech debt. And we still are dealing with mainframes. We have lots of old platforms that are not really agent friendly. So to overcome that, again, we have to start with specific use cases. We can't just holistically say we are going to AI or Gen AI everything, but we have to look at specific instances and build from there. And as we gain momentum, as we gain these success stories, success builds upon itself. Having good quality data is paramount. We cannot just implement AI or Gen AI on anything, right? We have to make sure that there is proper correlation, that we have systems that are interacting with each other, that are integrated with each other. So setting up those MCPs or setting up the proper infrastructure with good data, that is really the foundation, and it's not very easy. We have a lot of ambition, and everybody has a use case or multiple use cases. I mean, we are rapidly going from just trying to do everything manually to automating everything, and it's not very easy. I just have to be honest and upfront about that. But it's coming, and slowly but surely, with the right use cases, with making the right investments in them, we are trying to achieve that.
Yeah. So I'm imagining that while implementing this at scale, like you mentioned, right, you are moving beyond like siloed systems of having mainframe doing certain things to build what you would call like a central intelligence layer for the whole bank, right? Which sounds massive because you have to bring so many disparate things together to be able to function. Like, how do you actually orchestrate decision making across all these channels and the touch points that the customer has? How do you really bring this together?
So there are a few avenues. We are leveraging tools such as Snowflake, such as Databricks, to bring all of the customer data in-house in a centralized platform. So instead of having, you know, 10, 20 different hops for data to go through as we try to understand and mishmash that information or that customer journey, having it in one centralized place, it helps us. A few other things that are helping are data fabrics and data mesh technology. So tools like Starburst, that's also helping us when we don't have the ability to automatically bring data into Snowflake or Databricks. Having these higher level data products like concepts and trying to create a customer journey and interaction that ways, and then using that to overlay what an agentic flow would look like. Those are some of the avenues we're exploring.
Is this relevant to the data clean rooms that we've been listening about for quite a bit, right? Having the clean data separated so you can do the experiments and then operationalize it. Is that relevant to that?
Absolutely, absolutely, exactly that. So again, we cannot gather or gain insights with data all over the place, and we also have to to be very careful about the timeliness of this information. You can have older versions or you can have outdated information, but you don't want that confusing any insights that you are trying to put on newer transactions. Having that version control, that's very important. And also, as we build models, as we build all of this automation, it's very important to have appropriate explainability and build that right from the get go. It's not that we wait until an auditor comes around or we have to demonstrate something to second line or third line of defense. We have to build that within our ML pipelines. That's the ambition. We're not quite there yet, but that's what we are marching towards. So as we are building all of these models, have explainability, have appropriate transparency built from the get go, so that as we do any types of changes, we monitor what we have changed and the implications. And that also helps us manage drift as we put stuff in production. Data is never constant. You don't have the same situation be prevalent all the time. If you think about an e-commerce platform, if they build patterns for shopping or selling, buying, any type of commerce activity they're doing on just a regular scenario, and then you hit Thanksgiving where buying patterns, all of these are completely out of whack, or you have different patterns show up. Your old models that were used to train this information won't make any sense. So you have to keep monitoring and you have to keep adapting to all of these changes in your environment and and anything that comes up. So constant monitoring, observability, that's very important also.
I think I want to bring up the way you explained it sounded very methodical and organized. And I think that only comes with failing multiple times and having the challenges come to you multiple times. So let's pick up two things: technical challenges and organizational challenges, right? What's been the biggest technical or organization challenge sort of in building this unified brain and the AI system? And how did you overcome it so others can take benefit?
Again, if we look at technical challenges, I spoke about building explainability in your ML pipelines. It's easier said than done. If you think about a regular software development lifecycle and you're dealing with, your code being spread across multiple version control systems, it's challenging. I mean, how do you build that explainability? That's one thing. You're also looking at organizations where you have hundreds of technology teams. They all operate as silos. They all have their own ways of doing deployments. So ensuring that you get buy-in from everybody, that's also again part of your organizational challenge. When you're dealing with a very siloed organization, it's very difficult to get buy-in and get all the different teams to adopt consistent practices. So all of that comes from having very strong centralized technology teams. We have a few of those, but that's not to say that it's easy to deploy changes throughout. So getting buy-in, ensuring that any practices, any pipelines that we build, any governance that we build works across all the different types of tools, ensuring that can be a headache, but that's what we have to overcome to really make sure that this governance is properly implemented.
Super. Now I'll make it more interesting, kind of centralized around your role, right? In your role for deciding the right tooling for what sits in your data pipeline or as a part of your data tooling, you have a position of power externally and internally. Internally, you're the stakeholder. Everybody is telling you, hey, I saw this new data tool or data platform. Every day there's a new data platform. There's a semantic platform. There is something you want to do. There is a fit for that. You have to kind of tune out the noise and take value from that. How do you handle that internally, and what's your sort of mantra of solving that?
Sure. And you're absolutely right. There are thousands of tools available and people have their preferences. And a big organization like ours, we can have, 10 different data catalogs, we can have 50 different data quality engines, we can have lots of different ways that people are trying to achieve governance. And not every tool works in every situation or for every team. So what we are trying to do is make a conscious effort in understanding different requirements from various teams and trying to isolate ourselves or trying to come up with a set of best of breeds tools that we can standardize across the board. So whether it means, if you have so many different ETL pipelines or you have so many different ETL technologies, you have data stage, you have informatica, you have ab initio, you have talent, all of those it's very difficult to achieve standardization if you're dealing with all these different tools. So standardize on a few that will work for the majority of the cases so that any changes that we build can be brought in to all of them. And then from a data quality perspective, as we measure our data quality, we can have consistent practices. And this is another area where AI and Gen AI has a lot of promise. We have done some POCs where we have digested policy documents and then have it understand and identify what are the different DQ rules we have to implement, and then be able to convert that into code and convert that into code in various formats. So whether it's PySpark, whether it's JSON, it allows us to spit out all of these things that we can go ahead and implement. So again, looking at some of the facilities we have and also having a broader lens and trying to say, hey, we cannot have every tool on the market, but let's come up with the best tools that we have that will help you solve your problem. So it will take a shift. It will take some pains to adapt, but overall, in the grand scheme of things, that is one way of achieving more standardization and making governance a little easier.
Super. Let me shift the focus to external now for the same role, right? A lot of this is the hottest field, data and AI, in the last 2 or 3 years, or even 5 years, I would say, right? So there are best of the breed tools, platforms popping out every day, innovations, and their valuations would indicate that they're the best in the market, right? Their adoption is very good. Everybody's vying for your time because you are making decision for a huge bank for tooling and everything, right? What would interest you? I think a lot of them would want to know that what's going on in Shuchi's mind. How would I differentiate and show her the value that I bring? How do you make decisions? How do you find these platforms in your journey of implementing something for a bank at this scale?
Again, excellent question. We live in a world where we have an excess of everything. We have way too many things at our disposal, and if you look at, I mean, I'm just giving a very very simple example. If I look at Amazon, if I look anywhere, again, there is a plethora of things available. But at the end of the day, everybody has limited budget, and they have certain priorities that they have to live with, right? So, what makes sense within our budget, within our priorities, with the governance that we have to achieve and the overall objective while maintaining an adequate risk posture? That having that clarity is very important. So again, if we have unlimited funds, unlimited resources, we can buy everything, but you only have so much space and you
Yeah.
only so much ability to get things done. And if you're spreading out your effort in all of these siloed tools, it makes governance that much harder. If we look at things like tracing lineage, if I'm looking across 10 different tools, I would have to have so many different integrations to be able to get my lineage properly. But if I have one tool that suffices all of the requirements that I have, it fulfills the needs of all of my use cases and it does it in a way that is easy for the customers to use. It's easy for our IT folks to implement, maintain. That is what we're looking for. So, thus, things that help us govern and manage in an easy way, that helps us automate, that helps provide transparency, explainability, while helping us manage risk at a decent cost. I think that would be the formula that we would use to ensure that we are trying to get the best thing. So, in my closet, I can have 200 pieces of garments, but I can only wear so many at a time, right? So, I would keep the best pieces that allow me to maintain my presence and do what I need to do, and that's it. And I have to be satisfied with that. I don't have to have everything that's available in the marketplace.
Super. Awesome. Let's extend this concept of trust, right, and governance that you mentioned, right? Talking about governance, when I think about governance, I think about trust somehow. Trust leads me to governance. That trust is everything in banking because you're safeguarding people's money in the banks, which they have earned and hardened, right? And you're deploying AI at this unprecedented scale because the customers is asking for it. They're asking for this kind of experience, decision making, and things like that. How do you ensure a robust governance which doesn't stifle this growth or deployment that you need, right? How do you build governance like that?
Sure. So, I mean, if we just look at AI, there are so many different frameworks available. And
Mhm.
there are so many regulations coming out. You have the EU AI Act and the US Department of Treasury. They came up with a lot of guidance. And then you have the
Mhm.
NIST framework, and you know, you have tens of other regulations that have come up across the world. And in a large global organization like ours, we have to be very mindful about all of these. So, how do we build trust? How do we ensure that as we are creating policy, as we are trying to do any type of governance or innovation, we are mindful of all of these? First of all, understanding what's coming out of these regulations, that's paramount. You have to know what you have to protect. And you rightly said, a lot of people, we have millions of customers who put their hard-earned money and trust in us. They rely on us to make sure that everything that they have in terms of financial security will be protected,
Mhm.
and that we won't be doing anything that will compromise their privacy, their security, and we will do it in a fair manner. So if somebody applies for a mortgage, we have to make sure that if we are using any AI or automation, that we are not introducing bias. And anything that we do, we have to be able to explain it. So having all of these things, explainability, bias detection,
Mhm.
ensuring that our frameworks are not compromising sensitive information, having the proper privacy, security, safety built, all of that is very important. And all of this has to be built within the DNA of our systems. There are lots of guides available for us, but it's up to us to make sure that we implement all of those standards within our deployment practices. That whenever we roll anything out in production, we ensure that we're not compromising, privacy of our information. We are not compromising safety. That any model that is done, it goes through a proper model review process to ensure that it's free from bias. That the data that it's been trained on, that is a whole holistic sample of everything, every situation that this scenario can encounter. So all of those things have to be built in within our ML pipelines and within our regular audit and review processes.
Yeah. Now, I think I want to move towards a topic that I think I loved in my research when I was researching about your background and everything. A lot of your team members have taken the effort to write glorious things in terms of how working for you has been the best experience for them in their career. I'm curious that a lot of data leaders in future or AI leaders in future would need the best of the best working for them, and they have hundreds of options now with AI being everywhere. Everybody with Meta or other companies giving people $100 million offer, as we recently saw, it's going to become super common. Eventually, after money, what would differentiate is who are they working for? And you have been able to create that differentiated appreciation in the teams that have worked for you. It's incredible. First of all, congratulations on being able to do that consistently for so long. But how did you do that? Are there any lessons or philosophies that you use that others can learn from in retaining and attracting talent like this?
Again, I've been very fortunate to have really, really good people that I've been able to work with. And, it all boils down to trust in one another and also empowering one another.
Mhm.
Empowerment is very important for me. I have never liked to be micromanaged. And this is one thing that I also try to stay away from. I believe that as individuals, as human beings, it's very important for us to lead with dignity and respect one another. So respect
Mhm.
and safety, those are very important for me. And if we have good people working for us as a manager, as a leader, as a colleague, the best I can do for the other person is let them shine however they want to shine. So everybody has strengths. If we understand each other's and lead with them, there is no stopping us. In a lot of leadership philosophies, we always talk about, this is my gap, this is my mistake. Everybody has gaps, nobody is perfect, right? But if we understand what the strengths of our teams are, and if we let people work on things that motivate them the most, you will
Mhm.
get a lot more benefit and a lot more output. And happy people, happy workers are efficient workers, right? If
Mhm.
I am happy, I will try to give my best and I will try to go above and beyond. If I am stifled, if I feel like, I'm not being valued, I probably may not give in as much effort. So, enabling people, enjoying each other, celebrating one another, creating that environment of, joy, trust, and growth, That I think is what keeps people motivated, and it also helps them look beyond what they're doing. Nobody wants to be a factory worker, especially in
Yeah.
these kinds of roles. If you're doing the same thing day in and day out, it's mind numbing. Nobody wants to do that. All of us want to grow. All of us want to believe that we are master builders, or that we are creating something of value. So if you give people that ability to experiment, to try, and give them the psychological safety that it's okay to make mistakes as long as it's in a controlled environment, keep trying, keep learning. I mean, growth is very intoxicating. If you provide
Hmm.
in an environment where they feel like they're growing, I believe that they'll be happy. And you do it with genuine interest. You celebrate each other's wins. You celebrate one another. You'll have an amazing team. So that's what I have tried to do.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, that was it for today. Thank you, Shuchi, for this incredible look inside the future of banking and AI transformation. Your insights on building the central brain for the bank and the governance, and of course, how to set up an awesome team is exactly what other C-suite leaders like to hear. So thank you for joining us on our show.
Thank you very much, Chirag, for this opportunity, and wishing you the best.
Awesome. For our listeners who want to dive deeper into conversational banking, responsible AI, you can follow Shuchi's thought leadership. All links are in the show notes. Stay tuned for more conversations with leaders shaping technology and business on CXO Spotlight, powered by Flywheeler. Thank you.
To catch more such interesting conversations, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Music.